the God's Hookups television show. This is Dr. Barbara Young, your host, and this is a show that features up close and personal interviews with guests from all walks of life who share their stories about unexplainable blessings, successful events, and extraordinary miracles and encounters that can only be of God's hookup. You will receive hope, enlightenment, encouragement that will feed your spirit and your soul. Now, to my guest today, Shay Brown. Welcome.
Hey, welcome.
I am so excited. I got to tell my viewers, you know what? It took me a while to get this man on the show. I'm so excited, but let me tell you a little bit about him. This is the Shay Brown, who is let me tell you what he is. He has an extensive background as a global success sales coach, building seven-figure sales teams, who sort of segued to become host of his own talk show, The Happy Entrepreneur. So everybody knows Shay Brown is the Happy Entrepreneur talk show that is the #1 daily business development show in the country. And I have had the pleasure of being on his show. And I have to tell you this, Shay is one of the most energetic persons I've ever met. His enthusiasm is overwhelming. I think he kind of outbeats me because everybody thinks I'm enthusiastic, but I just love him. And I'm delighted to have him take time from his schedule to be on the show today. He's all the way back east, and it's 5:30 that time, 5:31 that time. So I want you to call your friends, make sure that they tune in, share this show. Call them, tell them they got to tune in because he has a lot of information to share today about his God Hookups stories. All right, Shay, you're on, babe.
Well, it's a great day. As you said, my name is Shay Brown and Dr. Barbara Young. Thank you so much for having me here on God's Hookups. I mean, what you're doing right now is truly incredible. Sharing these stories, sharing these messages to bless and help so many other folks that are out there right now. You know, I recall there I was and at a situation where my wife at that time told me that it was time for her to leave. And it wasn't like she was telling me it was time for her to leave. She was telling me she was leaving. And if you've ever been out there right now, as you're listening, if I was to ask the question right now, how many have been in love? Of course, the answer would be da-rah, da-rah, da-rah. You would all raise your hand. But if I was to ask the question, how many have lost the love of your life 2 times? Not once, but twice. And that's very challenging. When you go through a divorce, and even if you've never been through a divorce, you can relate if you've been through a relationship, you've been through something that doesn't work out, and your heart is totally cracked. You're thinking, what will I do? How will this work out? And I was really blessed at that time because as that was happening, I started questioning myself. Have you ever questioned yourself and asked yourself, am I good enough? Am I enough? If it happens one time, you say, maybe that's okay. But if it happens twice, you say, oh my gosh, why is this even possible? But here's what I want you to know. And here's the message that I want to share with you. I remember talking to my grandmother. And as I was having a conversation with her, one of the things she told me, she said, Che Che, because she called me Che Che, by the way. No one calls me Che Che anymore. Only my grandmother called me Che Che. She would say, Che Che, don't worry, the sun will come up tomorrow. But what she forgot to tell me is that it takes hours and hours and hours and hours for that sun to come up tomorrow. That it seems like it's forever before the sun comes up tomorrow. Why do I tell you that story? Why do I start off and share that with you? Because I want you to know just really 3 words: prayer changes things. Just go ahead and jot that down in your notes if you're listening right now. Prayer changes things. And I was blessed when I went through that I had a praying mama, I had a praying grandmama, I had a praying aunt. I had so many folks that were praying for me that although I couldn't see it, because in the midst of going through a divorce, I had just started my business. I had just been laid off after working for a company. So now I'm this double, triple failure, if you would. My finances were like in the toilet, and I thought it was the end of the end. I said, wow, this is how my life is supposed to be. But someone, as you're listening out there, you already wrote those words down, that what? Prayer changes things. And so I was very blessed because of the prayer that I was able to come out of that and able to pull not myself through, but have the support system. Now, some of you out there might be thinking, Shay, I don't have a support system. Shay, I don't have a grandmother telling me that. Shay, I don't have a crew of folks praying for me. But that doesn't change the fact that prayer changes things and that you can pray. Now, you can ask and it can happen for you. So if he can bring me out of a situation like that where I felt really bad, like no one would want to date me again, who would want to do this, right? You know, I am a failure as a business owner. I'm a failure as a father. My two sons decide they're going to stay with me, so I'm failing there, failing in my finances, and everything just seemed to be crumbling down. But the turnaround was the folks that were back there praying for me. And here's the point. Here's the message. When you fast forward to where I'm at now, I didn't know then, and I didn't have what I have now, and the big understanding that I have. But looking back now on then, what I understand is that they prayed for a very long time. What I understand is that I had to still keep taking action. What I understand is that I finally had the opportunity to marry, because I'm on my third marriage now. Don't judge me. Please don't judge me, by the way. I'm on my third marriage now, but I didn't know that I would marry my high school sweetheart. Now, Carla didn't know she was my high school sweetheart, right? Because when I was in high school back at Dale City, Virginia, at the time going to Garfield High School, by the way, she didn't know that I was in love with her. Now, she was a cheerleader. One of the star cheerleaders. Shay Brown, wasn't a football player, okay? And I wasn't a basketball player, so I wasn't in that crew over there. That wasn't me. And so it never really happened. But then 20 years later, we got reconnected thanks to Facebook. So I want to say thank you, Facebook. now, don't forget, by the way, that prayer changes things. There was a praying mama back there. I don't want to leave that out, but there was a church back there praying for me. But we met on Facebook. She sent me a note and said, "Are you this guy, Shay Brown? I'm getting all these emails from." Of course I'm that guy. Yeah, I'm that guy. Of course, at the time I was told I'm not her type. You know how that works, by the way. But I believe, and I stated that, look, I'm like Novocaine. Just give me time and I will work, okay? And so over the years, we got a chance to date, and thanks to Kevin Hart. Wherever Kevin Hart, if you're out there, thank you so much, by the way. Kevin Hart made us short guys cool again, okay? He really did. Thank you, Kevin Hart. And of course, prayer changes things. And so we fast forward later and got a chance to do what we did over a number of years of dating. And now we're married, we're happily married. And now I'm loving life. You see, prayer changes things. But you know, somewhere in there it says also, and how you talk about God's hookups and how things happen, that you've got to be able to have the right people at the right time who are in your life giving you the right advice to kind of help you along this way, even as prayer is taking place. And so I want to share a quick story of my father, Marshall Brown. Now, Mother Dear is still here. Mother Dear is 73 years old. She just celebrated her 73rd birthday about 2 weeks ago. And I'm so blessed to have her in my life. It's just a blessing. Father is no longer here. His name was Marshall Brown. He passed away May 2nd of 2017. And you talk about hookups. Now, he wasn't a praying man early on in his life, okay? He's a product of the 60s, civil rights guy. He's a really big activist, okay? But in his later days, he was a praying man. And one of the things he used to tell us whenever all my homies came over, right? And he loved to philosophize, by the way. Marshall Brown spent a number of years at Ben's Chili Bowl down on 14th and U Street, by the way, being the sage in his older years, telling the stories of Washington, D.C., the stories of the civil rights movement and all the people he met. But when they were around him, they used to always ask him the question about what it takes to be successful. What was his thoughts? What was his ideas? And Marshall Brown, my father, he used to always say this. He used to say, you know what? Here's something I want to leave you with. If it's easy to do, it's easy not to do. But if it's hard, it's the first thing that you should do. Now, that begged the question, why in the LL Cool J should it be the first thing you should do, right? And we would all ask that question. And I would sit there. I got so bored after so many years. Maybe some of you have parents like that. You're like, oh, God, I know what the punchline. They're going to ask him why. And they would say, why'd you say that? And he would lay back just like he was waiting for that question. And he would lean forward. He would say, because doing the hard things develops discipline. And isn't that so true? That it takes discipline. That while you have a praying mama, or you have a praying daddy, or you have a praying family, or you have a praying church, or maybe you're praying, you know that prayer changes things, you still got to take action. That's what the hookup is all about. So my father had this formula that I'm going to share with you, by the way, in the time that we have. And I want you to jot this down. So I wasn't going to share this, but hey, we're just having a conversation. You and I and everybody who's eavesdropping in right now. But here's the formula. Please put this down in your notes. My daddy, Marshall Brown, would say D plus D equals D. Someone jot that down in your notes right now. D plus D equals D. And then what does that mean? Decisions. That means you got to decide you're going to do something. You got to make a decision. Plus discipline. Discipline is doing the things you know you should do, even when you don't feel like it, equals dominion. Now, dominion in my religion, I grew up in the Pentecostal church, okay? But dominion means you have charge over everything. Yeah, my mom was a pastor. Yeah, she was a bishop. Yeah, I was a PK kid. Yeah, I got in trouble. Okay, that's a topic for another time. So decisions plus discipline equal dominion. So my message to you is have the discipline. My message to you is whatever you're going through right now, know that prayer changes things. You got to keep putting one foot in front of the other foot, in front of the other foot, in front of the other foot. And if you do that, you'll change someone else's life.
I didn't want you to stop. I just was taking notes. Decisions plus discipline equals dominion. So
Yeah.
Shay, we still have time. I was just like, come on, because I said, I got to get that down myself.
Well, but the opposite of that is, because the questions asked sometimes, Shay, what does it take to be successful? And I got to give the Marshall Brown remix version, because I'm part of the Puff Daddy generation, okay? We have remix versions. And the remix version is, you got to have discipline. The common denominator is discipline, taking action, doing the things you know you should do. Because the opposite of that formula is decisions. You decide you're going to go to the gym. Decisions, you're going to eat the right food. Decisions, you're going to save more than you spend. Minus discipline equals a disaster. Same D's, just different results. And so my message to you is that today is your January 1st. Someone write that down in your notes right now. Today is your January 1st. It's one of our core values that we believe in as a company. It's in my heart. And today is my January 1st represents one of those moments, not that's on the calendar, by the way, but it's one of those moments that you create where you make a decision. There's that decision again. You decide, and you probably have about 1,000 thoughts throughout the day. And any one of those thoughts could change the trajectory of your life. See, today is my January 1st represents a do-over. It's a fresh start. It's my past doesn't equal my future, that I can get it right. So you either decide you're going to work out or you're going to binge watch and watch Netflix. You either make a decision, you're going to eat hamburgers, some French fries, I get it, salt and pepper, I know some of you, hot sauce and ketchup, or you go over here and you open up the refrigerator, and inside that refrigerator there's some kale, gotta have some of that. Inside that refrigerator there's some broccoli, or some Brussels sprouts. See, today is your January 1st. You can get your business going. Today is your January 1st. You can get back on track with your health. Today is your January 1st. You can strengthen that relationship that you want to do. Now, the question comes up in about 2 minutes. Shay, where does that whole philosophy? Today is my January 1st. You write that down in your notes right now. Today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you, by the way. You get a fresh start. This is where it all goes down. As my father, Marshall Brown, would say, the future is spotless. You get a chance to create it. No matter what's happened, son, it's still spotless in front of you. Now, today is my January 1st came up from real quick is it was 1974. I belong to St. Paul's Pentecostal Church of Christ in Alexandria, Virginia, with Mother there. Back with Mother there. There we go. God's Hookups. Told you somebody had to be praying. Little small church, by the way. Little small church. You would call it a storefront. About 32 of us in there, by the way. And of 32 people in there, probably about 22 are kids. I was one of those 6-year-old kids, by the way. But every December 31st, I remember this. As I got older, I hated doing this, by the way. But we were young. We always had to go and we'd write a letter to the Lord. Now, check this out. You write the letter on the 31st. You're there just for service. They take the letter. The deacons and everybody, they all pray over the letter. And then January 1st, that couple hours later, they walk outside and then they burn the letter. And then they come back in and say, today is your January 1st. You wrote and asked for forgiveness for your sins. You're asking for help going forward. We prayed over it. And so it will be. And I got ingrained in my head, wow, today is my January 1st. Yay. And then it was about 10 years later. I'm about 14 years old at Godwin Middle School. I get in trouble. I got in a lot of trouble in school, by the way. And so my mom decided, I told you, don't judge me. Please don't judge me. My mom decided she's going to take my Atari away from me. Some of you know what Atari is, but that was like the original game we used to play with Pac-Man on it and asteroids. And so I had this idea. I said, you know what? I'm going to write a letter to the Lord. I can get off punishment. So I write this letter to the Lord. I go see my mother. Mother dear, here's my letter. Today is my January 1st. Mother says, no, it doesn't work like that, by the way. And I was put back on punishment. Why did I tell you that message? It wasn't until 30 years later when I found myself in many dark spaces, in dark places, that I remembered back in 1974 when I was at St. Paul's Pentecostal Church, which is much bigger now. And I used to watch my mom and so many folks that would work just as hard for 32 people as they do for 3,200 people. And I started saying, you know what? No matter what situation I'm in, no matter what's happened, today is my January 1st. So when your feet hit that ground tomorrow morning, I want you to tell yourself, today is my January 1st. I can change some lives. Today is my January 1st. I can get my business off the ground. Today is my January 1st. I can finish that book. Why? Because the best is still yet to come.
Absolutely.
Prayer changes things. So the best is still yet to come. They taught me back at St. Paul's Pentecostal Church in 74, and it's still true today in 2020. Prayer changes things. So
Yes,
that's God's hookup. That's the message I bring to you, that today is your January 1st. You got this. You can do this. And for you, the best is still yet to come. The best.
I love it. I love it, Shay. And you sort of answered a question I had because I know being a PK, I was going to say, did you rebel? I mean, because a lot of the PKs, I mean, they go through, some rebellions, and I grew up too in a Baptist church.
Sure.
And I started playing for church when I was 9 years old. I was playing for Sunday school. So I grew up in the church. And so I said, when I grow up, I am never going to church again.
Sunday service, Wednesday service, Friday night service, Saturday night service.
That's right. And I don't know, in the Pentecostal church, they didn't have BTU, Baptist Training Union. So we had to go to morning service and then 6 o'clock Baptist Training Union. And my mother kept us busy in the summer as I started thinking about this. To my list of viewers out there, we went to everybody's vacation Bible school, Lutheran, Pentecostal, Baptist, Methodist, Bible in the summer. So I understand. But you don't fall too far. They said the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah.
Well, that because it's rooted and grounded in you. And I really, really want to thank you for reminding prayer changes things. Yes. And I did not know your whole story, but I can imagine what it's like to go through a couple of marriages and losing stuff and job and finances. And you're saying, well, where's God? I was raised, I wrote my letters. By any chance, did you write a letter to God during that time? Did you forget to write a letter during that time?
It would have probably saved me a lot of pain and heartaches. I should have been back in the church instead of running the other way. I felt like Jonah. I should have stopped running and stopped.
That's okay. He worked it out because he knew you'd be where you are today, to be such a blessing to so many people. And I want to commend you for the Happy Entrepreneur Show. And for those of you out there, Shay, would you tell the viewers how they can access your Happy Entrepreneur Show? Those of us who are on the West Coast or Midwest, how they can access your Happy Entrepreneur Show.
And the good news for those folks that are all over the world, because one of the things I know is your program is international, and that's what I admire about what you do. You touch lives every single day. All of you can head over to happyentrepreneurshow.com. It's just happyentrepreneurshow.com. That'll take you right to the site. If you want to find it in Facebook and you want to connect with other folks that are like-minded, that are just like you, that want to improve the quality of their life, that believe that they can be happy and successful, just go to Facebook and just type in Happy Entrepreneur Show and come on over, connect with us. Send me a note personally. Let's connect. Follow me. I'll follow you back. My name is Shay Brown, C-H-E, last name Brown. Love to connect.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to forgive myself because I'm not going to say Shay. I'm not going to say it ever. But I can't thank you enough for being on the show today. You certainly have inspired the listeners I know out there. And if they were taking notes, today is your January 1st. And prayer changes things. I hope, if anything, they wrote that down, plus the 3 Ds: decisions, plus discipline, equals dominion. And that is so important today. Decisions, the 3 Ds, D plus D equals D. Decisions plus discipline equals dominion. Prayer
Yes.
changes things. And today is your January 1st. If you got nothing else, remember that. You are definitely a winner, Mr. Shea Brown. I want to thank you for being on the show today. I love you enough. Can't love you enough.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
So all of you, if you want to receive updates for my upcoming live shows, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at Dr. Barbara Young at radio.com. And then if you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at drb@godshookups.com. And I got good news because you can follow me for any new radio and television shows on my Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Dr. Barbara Young. And I want you to spread the word and share this show with your friends. Be sure to share. And remember, we have these shows every Friday at 11:30 Pacific Standard Time, 1:30 Pacific Standard Time, and 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. So I want to thank you all for being with us today on the show. I am so excited that we had Mr. Shea Brown, and I want to thank him again for being on the show. So I want to say to all of you, I'll see you next week where we have some exciting guests. We have Patty Grimm, Jim Cathcart, and Deborah Cunningham. We're all going to be on the show to share with you today. So